So we're a couple of months into the new year now, and when it comes to like project work or portfolio work or like images of importance, I have made nothing.
Life has just been busy with work, family. Free time has essentially been non-existent, which is completely fine. But even just a few years ago, I really struggled with periods of idleness. And I always felt like I had to be making some sort of work of importance or something for a portfolio. And I eventually got to a point where I realized how out of balance I was. So kind of during that period, I came up with this way of looking at the creative pursuit that really helped me, I think, become a better photographer, and maybe even more importantly, a more fulfilled photographer. So I'm calling this the seasons of creativity. I want to share this idea with you today, and hopefully it helps you out somehow. So overall, this is a fairly simple idea. But basically, there's these 3 seasons involved. So the first one is the season of production. This is the one that I used to live in basically 365 days a year. Then it's followed by the season of rest, and then a season of experimentation. And that's what I would say I'm currently in right now. And each one of these, they don't have specific duration. So it's not like they're 4 months apiece or something like that. They're going to change constantly. They're going to be different for every one of us. What does stay the same usually is that one follows the other, and they form almost like this circle or this triangle, however you want to draw it, where you make stuff for a while, then you take a break, and then you experiment and you play, and then you go back and make stuff again. So production is pretty straightforward. It's the period where we're making work. And usually when this is running smoothly, it's those times where we feel like we're in the zone, where we have, for the most part, like quite a bit of motivation and excitement for what we're doing. And that's not to say that, things can't be challenging during this period. I think a lot of times when we're making our best work, it is the most difficult. But for the most part, production's at its best when it doesn't feel like you're fighting it and when you also have energy for it. And sometimes, this can last for a long time, for months on end, but I think it's unrealistic to think that you can stay in this production phase nonstop. And as mentioned before, that's what I tried to do for a very long time. And I honestly think my work suffered a bit because of it. Basically, I was always trying to output without ever taking any time to rest and let any creative input in to kind of re-energize. So rest. This one has always been a challenge for me, just to completely shift my focus away from my work and be as present as possible with everything else in my life. And it is for sure the one that I'm trying my best to get better at. But I do think nowadays it's more difficult than it's ever been to disconnect. And, we are often encouraged to just constantly be making stuff. But we need these periods of rest, just of total disconnect, to give your mind a break, just to have other experiences. And oftentimes, I truly believe that it's during those periods that your best ideas form, kind of in your subconscious. And these are ideas that wouldn't come about and can't come about by just like sitting at a desk, totally burnt out, trying to force out and figure out what's next. So the third one is what I'm currently in, experimentation. And as mentioned before, I haven't been doing any work for projects this year just because of lack of time. But what I have been doing whenever possible is just like playing. So lately I've been shooting a bunch of Super 8mm film on a new camera, learning how to develop with the Jobo CPE, been looking at lots of new photo books and getting inspired that way, and just trying to enjoy all of it and not worrying like what it's for or if I like it or what it's all about. And for a long time, this was really difficult for me to do because, as I mentioned before, whenever I would go out, I always felt like if I was going to make something, it had to be for something bigger or it had to have some sort of importance behind it. And working like that, with that approach, I think can lead to you becoming quite rigid at times. And as a result, you end up missing out on a bunch of creative opportunities that could have a pretty big impact on your work moving forward.
So experimentation, this is the creative input stage. You know, you have to play, you have to make mistakes, you got to mess around, you got to try new things, you got to learn, and you got to just like totally let go of really worrying or wondering what it's all for. So the 3 seasons: production, followed by a period of rest, followed by a period of play, back to production. This really changed my relationship with photography and my approach to it. And, you know, just accepting that all of these are important and necessary pieces of the puzzle, I think what happened was it made me way more like conscious, and also would make me appreciate where I was at rather than trying to push through that to get back to making stuff as quick as possible. And the best example I could give for all this would be, you know, moving here to England from Canada about 3 years ago. It's only been like the last 3 months where I've finally figured out with certainty where my focus lies next, what my next project is. But it took me over 2 years of experimenting to get to that point. But unlike in the past, it was easier to just accept that and keep experimenting, trying new things, you know, going to black and white from color, trying different tools, discovering new artists, being inspired by that, starting projects, stopping them, and just like not judging any of it or worrying if it was a waste of time or if it was working, just playing, knowing it was all important and would eventually lead me back to that production phase. So the seasons of creativity, I know this might sound overly simple, but honestly, it's really done a lot for me, and I wanted to just share it with all of you. Maybe some of you take something away from this. And I think it's just like important to remember, I really believe that these are all necessary pieces of the puzzle. So like if you've been struggling with your work, you're feeling frustrated, you know, go try something new, pick up some new gear or new film, or find people's work that inspires you, try something different, and just like make mistakes and fail and make a bunch of shitty photos that you show no one, and just like embrace it all and have fun with it, and don't worry about like what it's for, if it was a waste of time or where it's taking you. Just know that eventually you go through each one of these phases and you get to the next one. So anyways, that's all I got today. I hope this helped. I wanted to share this idea for a while now. I just wanted to try and figure out like the best way to explain it, and hopefully have it make sense. So I hope it all made sense. But anyways, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. As always, I'll talk to you soon.